The first thing I notice when I step inside the house is how empty it feels, even though it's full of furniture. Sunlight pours through the tall front windows, landing on the hardwood floors I helped refinish 3 summers ago. The air smells faintly of lemon cleaner and fresh paint. Someone tried to make it feel new today. It doesn't work. The house remembers me. My heels echo as I walk farther in, each sound too loud, too sharp, like the place is announcing that I don't belong anymore. I set my purse down on the wide kitchen island, the same one I once argued over colors for, back when my dad said, "We're building something solid here, Avery." That word, "we," still stings. My daughter, Lila, trails behind me, dragging her fingers along the wall. She's 7, curious, observant in the quiet way kids are when they sense something fragile. "This house is big," she says softly, almost reverently, like she's in a church. "It is," I answer, forcing a smile that feels glued on. I smooth her hair, hoping she doesn't hear the tightness in my voice. Voices drift in from the living room. My father, Harold, is laughing, deep, confident. My brother, Mason, answers him, louder than necessary. There's pride in Mason's tone, the kind that fills space and pushes everyone else to the edges. I pause near the doorway, my chest tightening as I listen. "Everything's signed," Harold says. "It's done. You're set." I step in just as Mason notices me. His grin falters for half a second before snapping back into place. He's holding a thick manila folder, creased at the corners. "Legal papers. Final papers." "Hey, Ave," he says. "You made it." I nod, even though I was never invited. "I came because Harold texted me that morning, 'Stop by if you want to see the place one last time.'" One last time. Like a warning disguised as kindness. The realtor stands nearby, checking her phone, clearly ready to leave. On the coffee table sits a small stack of keys tied together with a blue ribbon. I recognize the ribbon. I bought it years ago, thinking it would be for all of us. "So," I say, my voice sounding far away, "this is it." Harold finally looks at me. His smile softens, but his eyes don't. "Mason's taking over," he says. "The house is his now." The words land slowly, each one sinking deeper than the last. My hands curl into fists at my sides. I think of the late-night calls from the bank, the months I covered the mortgage when Mason fell behind. I think of the checks I wrote, the weekends I spent sanding floors, the promises that my name being on the paperwork was just temporary. Lila looks up at me. "Does Uncle Mason live here forever now?" she asks. No one answers her. Harold clears his throat. "Avery, you understand. You always do." I look at the keys, the folder, the house that still feels like mine in all the quiet, invisible ways. Hope flickers once, weak and confused, then goes out. I don't remember the drive home. Later, I'll realize that my hands must have been steady on the steering wheel, that I stopped at red lights and used my turn signal, but in my mind the road blurs into a long gray ribbon. Lila hums softly in the back seat, swinging her legs, unaware that something important just cracked. At a stoplight, my phone buzzes. A text from Mason. "Dad told you, right? Don't make this weird." I stare at the words until they lose shape. Don't make this weird. As if the weird thing isn't giving away a $950,000 house to the one person who never paid for it. I type a reply. Delete it. Type again. Delete that too. When we get home, Lila drops her backpack by the door and asks if she can have cereal for dinner. I say yes because I don't trust myself to cook without burning something or crying into the pot. She sits at the table, kicking her feet, watching cartoons while I lean against the counter, pressing my palms into the cool stone to ground myself. Another message comes in. This one from my dad. "You're overreacting. You know Mason needs stability." The sentence is so familiar it feels rehearsed. My chest tightens. I think of all the times I was told I didn't need help because I could handle things. Of all the ways that strength became an excuse to take from me. There's a knock at the door, just as I feel my eyes starting to burn. It's my neighbor, Renee, holding a plate covered in foil. "I made too much chicken," she says, then stops short when she sees my face. "Hey, are you okay?" I nod automatically.
Yeah.
Just tired. Renee doesn't argue. She steps inside, sets the plate down, and lowers her voice. Lila doing okay? She's fine, I say. The lie tastes bitter. She doesn't really understand. Renee squeezes my arm gently before leaving, and the kindness almost breaks me more than the cruelty did. When the door closes, the house feels too quiet. I slide down until I'm sitting on the kitchen floor, my back against the cabinet, breathing in short, shallow pulls. That night, after Lila is asleep, I scroll through old emails. Bank reminders. Payment confirmations. Screenshots of transfers I sent when Mason missed deadlines. I find one message from him, dated 2 years ago. Thanks for covering this month. I'll pay you back once things turn around. Things never did. Around midnight, my phone rings. I let it ring twice before answering. Avery, Harold says, already irritated. Why are you making this harder than it needs to be? I just wanted to understand. I say quietly. I helped with the house. My name is still. We'll talk later, he interrupts. You're emotional right now. The line goes dead. I sit there for a long time, staring at the dark screen, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. In the living room, Lila's nightlight casts a soft glow under her door. I realize no one asked how this would affect her.
Or me.
Outside, a car pulls into a driveway and then leaves. Somewhere, a door closes. I feel like something has been taken from me, not loudly, not violently, but carefully, like someone lifting a painting off a wall and leaving behind a pale outline of where it used to be. When I think about the house now, I realize it was never just about walls and windows. It was about a pattern that started long before mortgages and paperwork, back when Mason and I were kids sharing a narrow hallway and a bathroom that never quite stayed clean. Mason was always the one who needed more. More patience. More chances. More understanding. When he forgot his homework, Dad blamed the teacher. When he missed curfew, Dad said boys needed room to mess up. When I brought home straight A's, Dad smiled, proud but unsurprised, like I had simply fulfilled a role I'd been assigned at birth. You're the responsible one, Avery, he used to say, ruffling my hair. I don't worry about you. At the time, I thought that was love. By the time we were adults, responsibility had turned into expectation. When Mom got sick, I rearranged my work schedule to drive her to appointments. When Mason between jobs, I quietly paid the electric bill on the house, so it wouldn't shut off. Dad called it helping family. He never called Mason irresponsible. The first time the mortgage came up, it was framed as temporary. Dad had found the house, a sprawling place in a good school district, and he was excited in a way I hadn't seen in years. This is an investment, he told me over coffee. Something to pass down. My credit was stronger. My savings were steadier. So my name went on the documents too. Just in case. Just for now. At first, the payments were split. Then Mason missed one. Then two. The bank started calling me, my phone lighting up during meetings, during dinner, during Lila's bedtime stories. Mason always had a reason. A delayed paycheck. A business idea that hadn't paid off yet. A promise that things were about to turn around. I paid because foreclosure felt unthinkable. I paid because Dad asked me to. I paid because Lila loved the backyard and called the big oak tree hers. Christmas came and went, marked by awkward smiles and unspoken tension. One year, Mason showed up late with an expensive jacket and no gift receipts. Dad laughed it off. He treats himself, he said. I smiled and passed out the modest presents I'd planned weeks in advance. There were moments I almost spoke up, like the time Mason joked at dinner that the house was basically his already. Or when Dad casually mentioned he'd told the neighbors Mason was the homeowner. Each time, I swallowed the words. I didn't want to be difficult. I didn't want to be selfish. The breaking point should have come earlier. Maybe when I realized I'd paid over $70,000 toward a house I wasn't allowed to make decisions about. Or when Mason stopped thanking me altogether. Or when Dad started saying things like, "You don't really need this place." But the moment that stays with me most happened quietly online late one night. I was scrolling through social media when I saw it, A photo of Mason standing on the front porch of the house, keys raised in the air, smiling wide. "Couldn't have done it without you, Dad," the caption read. "Homeowner vibes." The comments poured in. "Congratulations." "Pride." Jokes about housewarming parties. I stared at the screen, my reflection faintly visible in the dark glass, and felt something click into place. I wasn't invisible because I hadn't done enough. I was invisible because my role was never to be seen. 3 weeks pass before the first official notice arrives. It comes in a plain white envelope, the kind designed to look harmless. I almost toss it onto the counter with the grocery ads and school flyers, but something about the return address makes my stomach tighten. I open it standing up. Halfway through the first paragraph, my hands start to shake. Past due. Immediate attention required. Final notice before default proceedings. The words blur together, but the numbers don't. 3 missed payments. Late fees stacking like bricks. A deadline stamped in bold ink. I sit down hard at the kitchen table, the chair legs scraping loudly against the floor. My name is there. Clear. Undeniable. Still legally attached. I call the bank, my voice measured even as my pulse races. The representative is polite, detached, reading from a screen. Yes, the account is delinquent. Yes, foreclosure is the next step. Yes, both parties listed on the mortgage are responsible. Both parties. As if responsibility had ever been evenly shared. After I hang up, I stare at the wall for a long time. The house feels smaller somehow, like the air has been slowly leaking out. Lila comes home from school and starts talking about a spelling test she passed, waving the paper proudly. I smile, hug her, tell her I'm proud. Inside, something is unraveling. That night, Mason calls. "Hey," he says, casual as ever. "Did you get something from the bank?" "Yes," I answer. My throat feels tight. "Why didn't you tell me you stopped paying?" There's a pause. Then a sigh, heavy and theatrical. "Things got tight. Dad said you'd understand." The words land like a slap. "You let it default," I say. "You didn't even warn me." "Relax," Mason says. "You can cover it. Just for now. We'll figure it out later." Later. Always later. I hang up without responding. A minute later, a text from my father lights up my phone. "Mason's under a lot of stress. Don't make this worse." I read it twice. 3 times. My chest feels compressed, like someone has wrapped a band around my ribs and keeps pulling. For the first time, the full shape of it becomes clear. They gave him the house, the praise, the future, and left me with the risk. That night, I can't sleep. I sit at the table with my laptop open, documents spread out around me. Mortgage statements. Old emails. Payment histories. The truth is there in black and white, stripped of excuses and tone. I realize then that nothing I do will ever be enough to change them. Covering this payment won't fix anything. Saving Mason won't save me. As dawn breaks, pale and quiet, a calm settles over me. It isn't peace yet. It's something sharper. It's the understanding that this ends with me. I don't announce my decision. There's no dramatic phone call, no final warning. I wake up the next morning, make Lila pancakes shaped like uneven hearts, pack her lunch, and walk her to the bus stop like I always do. The sky is clear, almost too blue, and the normalcy feels surreal, like the world hasn't caught up to what I know yet. After the bus pulls away, I come back inside and sit at the kitchen table. I line everything up carefully. The bank notice, my old payment receipts, the original mortgage agreement. I open my laptop and schedule a consultation with a real estate attorney whose name Renee gave me weeks ago. I don't rush. I read every confirmation screen twice before clicking submit. When the attorney calls later that afternoon, her voice is calm, professional. She confirms what I already suspect. My name carries weight. Legal weight. Responsibility and rights are bound together, whether my family likes it or not. "So, what would you like to do?" she asks. I look around the room. Sunlight spills across the floor, catching dust motes in the air. The house is quiet. For once, the silence doesn't feel accusing. "I'm not making another payment," I say. The words feel steady when they leave my mouth. I want to let the process move forward. There's a pause on the line. Then, that's a valid choice, she says. No judgment. No pressure. Just facts. After I hang up, I expect to feel panic. Instead, there's a strange lightness, like I've set down something heavy without realizing how much it weighed. I send one email to the bank, confirming that I won't be covering the delinquency. I keep it brief, polite, final. The response comes quickly. Automated. Clinical. We acknowledge receipt. That evening, I make dinner, simple pasta, garlic bread. Lila chatters about a classmate's new puppy, her laugh bubbling up easily. I find myself laughing too, genuinely surprised by the sound of it. We eat at the table instead of the couch. The overhead light seems brighter than usual. After dishes are done, I step outside onto the porch. The air is cool, carrying the smell of cut grass from somewhere down the block. I breathe deeply, filling my lungs all the way, then letting it out slowly. For the first time in weeks, my chest doesn't feel tight. My phone buzzes. A message from Mason. The bank says you're not paying. What are you doing? I read it once. Then I lock my phone and set it face down on the table inside. I don't reply. Not now. Maybe not ever. Later, when Lila is asleep, I open a folder on my laptop and label it simply House. I organize everything inside, documents, emails, timelines. It feels methodical, grounding. Control, piece by piece, returning to me. Before bed, I check the front door, sliding the deadbolt into place. The click echoes softly through the hallway. It's a small sound, easy to miss, but it means something. I stand there for a moment, my hand resting on the lock, and realize I'm not bracing for impact anymore. I'm choosing where the line is. The fallout comes faster than I expect. 2 days after I send the email to the bank, my phone starts ringing before sunrise. I don't answer. By mid-morning, the messages stack up, missed calls, voicemails, texts that shift from confusion to accusation. Mason is the first to show up. I hear his truck before I see it, the engine idling too loud in the driveway. There's a sharp knock at the door, followed by another, harder this time. Lila looks up from the living room rug, her coloring pencils frozen in her hand. Who is it? She asks. I'll handle it, I say, keeping my voice even. When I open the door, Mason is already talking. What the hell are you thinking? He snaps. His face is flushed, jaw tight. The bank called Dad. They're starting default procedures. I step outside and close the door behind me, the solid wood between us and Lila. You missed the payments, I say. This is the consequence. You were supposed to help, he says. You always help. Not this time. Before I can answer, another car pulls up. My father gets out, moving slower but radiating authority like he always does. He doesn't look at me at first. He looks at Mason. Go inside, Harold says. I'll talk to her. Mason hesitates, then retreats to the truck, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Harold turns to me, his expression a mix of anger and disappointment. You've embarrassed us, he says. Do you have any idea how this looks? I do, I reply. My hands are shaking, but my voice isn't. It looks like the truth. He scoffs. You're punishing your own brother. No, I say. I'm refusing to save him. Harold steps closer, lowering his voice. You're being selfish. That house was meant for family. I am family, I say. The words feel heavier than I expect. And so is my daughter. As if summoned, the front door opens a crack behind me. Lila's voice slips through, small and unsure. Mom. Harold's gaze flicks past me. His expression softens, but only briefly. This isn't for children, he says. Then stop bringing it to my door, I answer. The argument escalates quickly after that. Voices rise. Accusations fly. At some point, Mason starts yelling from the driveway again, blaming me for ruining everything. A neighbor's curtain twitches across the street. Then a patrol car pulls up, lights flashing silently. The officer approaches calmly, hand resting near his belt. We got a call about a disturbance, he says, looking between us. Is everything okay here? Harold stiffens. This is a family matter. The officer nods. Ma'am, he asks me gently. I'm fine, I say. I've asked them to leave. The officer turns to Harold and Mason. If she's asking you to leave, you need to go. Mason opens his mouth to argue, but Harold holds up a hand. For a moment, I think he might fight it. Instead, he looks at me with something close to disbelief. You really mean this, he says. Yes, I answer. They leave in silence, Mason's tires spinning slightly as he pulls away. The patrol car follows them down the street before disappearing. Inside, Lila stands in the hallway, eyes wide. Am I not important enough? She asks quietly. I kneel in front of her, pulling her into my arms. You are the most important thing, I say. And for the first time, my actions finally match the words. The house feels different after they leave. Not quieter exactly, but steadier, like something unstable has finally settled into place. I lock the door and lean my forehead against it for a moment, breathing in and out until my hands stop trembling. Outside, life goes on. A dog barks. A lawnmower hums somewhere down the block. The world doesn't end just because I said no. The foreclosure process moves forward with a strange mix of slowness and inevitability. Letters arrive. Emails follow. Each one is formal, unemotional, and oddly reassuring. There's no judgment in them, no manipulation. Just facts. Missed payments. Default status. Next steps. I keep everything organized in the folder I made, checking things off as I go. Mason doesn't call again. Harold sends one short message a week later. You didn't have to take it this far. I read it once and don't reply. For the first time, silence feels like a choice instead of a punishment. What surprises me most is who shows up next. Renee knocks on my door with a loaf of banana bread wrapped in foil. You don't have to talk, she says. I just wanted you to have this. A coworker leaves a gift card on my desk with a note that says, for a night you don't feel like cooking. Lila's teacher pulls me aside after school and tells me she's been more confident lately, raising her hand more, smiling easier. Bit by bit, the panic loosens its grip. When the final notice arrives confirming the legal shift in ownership due to the default, I sit at the kitchen table and let myself feel it fully. Relief. Sadness. Vindication. The house, tangled in family politics for so long, is now simply a property again. Paperwork. Law. Boundaries enforced without shouting. I walk through the room slowly that evening, touching the walls, the banister, the door frames. I remember painting over scuff marks at midnight, tightening loose screws, replacing a broken latch no one else noticed. I realize I've been caring for this place all along, just quietly, without claiming it. That night, Lila and I eat dinner on the living room floor, plates balanced on our knees. She laughs when spaghetti sauce splashes onto the napkins, unbothered, relaxed. Afterward, she falls asleep on the couch with her head in my lap, her breathing soft and even. I don't move for a long time. In the days that follow, I notice changes I didn't expect. My bank account steadies. The constant knot in my chest loosens. I stop checking my phone every few minutes, bracing for another demand. Without the weight of obligation, my life feels wider. Standing alone in the doorway one afternoon, keys warm in my palm, I realize something simple and profound. Support doesn't ask what it can take. It asks what you need. For once, the house feels bigger. The rebuilding doesn't happen all at once. It starts in small, almost invisible ways. I wake up earlier, not because I'm anxious, but because I've slept deeply and my body is ready to move. I make coffee and drink it standing by the window, watching the street come alive. The mornings feel quieter now, not empty, peaceful. I begin with the kitchen. I repaint the walls a soft, warm white, covering the color Mason chose without asking anyone. Lila helps by taping the edges, taking her role very seriously. She gets paint on her elbow and laughs instead of apologizing. I let her. The house is allowed to be imperfect now. Finances become simple in a way they never were before. I sit down with spreadsheets and finally see my money clearly. What comes in, what goes out, what stays. There's no mystery expense anymore, no sudden panic when the phone rings. Each month ends with a small surplus. Not dramatic. Just enough to breathe. Lila changes too. She starts inviting friends over, proudly showing them her room. Her teacher emails me again, this time to say Lila volunteered to read aloud in class. At night, she sleeps without creeping into my bed, secure in a way she wasn't before. There are moments when the past tries to reach in. A voicemail from Harold, stiff and formal, suggesting we talk things through. A text from Mason asking if I'd consider helping him get back on his feet. I respond politely, briefly, and firmly.
No.
I don't explain.
I don't argue.
I don't reopen doors I worked hard to close. Something new slips into my life, quietly. His name is Ethan, a coworker who starts staying late the same nights I do. We talk about work at first, then books, then nothing important at all. He listens more than he speaks. He never asks me to fix anything. When he eventually sees the house, he says, "It feels calm here." I take that as a compliment. On weekends, Lila and I plant flowers in the front yard. Yellow ones. Bright and stubborn. The dirt gets under our nails, and neither of us minds. Neighbors stop to chat. The house becomes part of the street again, not a battleground, not a bargaining chip. One afternoon, I hang a framed photo in the hallway. It's just the two of us, smiling, sunlight behind us. No grand statement.
Just proof of where I am now.
As I step back to look at it, I realize the house doesn't feel like something I have to defend anymore. It feels like something I live in. 1 year later, the house smells like vanilla cake and melted candles. The dining table is crowded with mismatched plates, paper crowns, and a lopsided stack of wrapped gifts. Lila stands at the center of it all, 8 years old now, cheeks flushed, eyes bright, waiting for everyone to finish singing. Her laugh fills the room when the song ends. It's loud and unguarded, the kind of sound that doesn't check first to see if it's allowed. I watch her take a deep breath and blow out the candles in one determined puff. Applause breaks out. Neighbors, a couple of friends from school, Renee leaning against the counter with a proud smile. This is the same house where everything once fell apart. The same walls. The same windows. But the air is different. Lighter. Earned. Later, after the guests leave and Lila disappears upstairs to count her presents for the third time, I sit alone at the kitchen table. The night is quiet. Peaceful. I open my journal, the one I started during the worst months, and flip through old entries filled with questions I don't ask anymore. Why wasn't I enough? What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? The answers came slowly, not as explanations but as boundaries. My phone buzzes with a message from Harold. It's brief. Hope Lila had a nice birthday. I stare at it for a moment, then type back.
She did.
Thank you. That's it. No reopening. No apology demanded. No access granted. Distance, measured and intentional. Mason doesn't reach out anymore. I hear through distant relatives that he's renting now, that things are hard. I feel a flicker of sadness, then let it pass. His life is no longer my responsibility. That truth doesn't feel cruel. It feels honest. I walk through the house before bed, turning off lights, checking doors. The front porch flowers have grown fuller than I expected, yellow blooms catching the glow of the street lamp. I remember the first night I stood here, hand on the lock, afraid of what would happen next. So much of my life used to be spent preventing disasters that weren't mine to solve. Upstairs, Lila calls out, "Mom?" "I'm here," I answer. I tuck her in, kiss her forehead, and linger a moment longer than necessary. As I turn off the lamp, she says, half asleep, "I like our house." "So do I," I tell her. Back downstairs, I pause in the doorway of the living room. The furniture is worn but comfortable. The walls hold quiet memories now, not arguments. I realize that giving up control of others was the only way to finally take control of myself. Family isn't who takes the most. It's who stays when taking is no longer an option. I close the door, turn the lock, and rest my hand there, steady and sure. Home.